All right, hi folks. This exercise that we're gonna go through is going to help you to think about and consider the three texts that are being addressed in this particular prompt. You're going to be able to create topic sentences, gather evidence, and start thinking about your analysis, which will eventually turn into a full and detailed TEA paragraph to answer prompt number 1. Remember, the main objective of a TEA paragraph is to thoroughly address the prompt and prove something or draw a conclusion based on your own interpretation of the text. That's a lot to do in a really short paragraph and in a short amount of time. So the more that we carefully consider these three texts and the conclusions that we're drawing, the better off you're going to be. So I'm going to walk you through this graphic organizer, and we're going to stop and start to make sure that we thoroughly address each of these examples. But before we begin, let's make sure we take a look at the prompt itself. The prompt reads, read and annotate Kurt Vonnegut's short story, The Lie, and write a TEA paragraph that makes a claim expressing how it compares to Veronica Roth's novel, Divergent, and the short story, A Kind of Murder. So you have The Lie right in front of you. You should have Divergent in front of you. And the day of the final, you also need to have A Kind of Murder. Remember, your annotations are going to be graded, and the only thing you need to annotate is the lie itself. So make sure that you have that thoroughly annotated by the annotation marks per page, and have that ready to turn in at the end of the final exam. Okay, so before we start writing, we need to make sure we brainstorm. So looking at the brainstorm, it says, list as many connections as you can think of among these three texts. Carefully consider themes, characters, and plot points in each of these three stories as you generate your list below. Let's take a minute now and let's independently brainstorm some ideas. Alright folks, I took a second here and I really thought about the three main characters in these particular texts and what they have in common. So my first idea, my first thought is characters Tris, Pentecost, and Eli are all forced to make difficult situations. These are not easy stories to be a part of, especially for the main characters, but that's pretty general and that's pretty vague. So my next thought is that the characters must be truthful with people that they care about and or respect. So throughout each of these stories, each of these characters are required to tell the truth or engage in self-disclosure with other characters that they either really care about or they really respect. But I still wasn't satisfied with that, so I kept going with my brainstorm. My next idea was that the characters are forced to take action, whether they're prepared to or not. So Tris, we know, has to become a hero very quickly at a young age. In The Lie, Eli's not ready to admit the fact that he didn't get accepted into the school that his parents really wanted him to go to. And then in A Kind of Murder, Pentecost is not really ready to stand up for Mr. Warren. So we see all these characters, they're not prepared to take an action that they really need to take. But as I was thinking that, most of the characters, or at least the boys in this case, they really don't take action in the story. So my final thought, which is going to turn into my topic sentence, was, challenges are placed upon them, and these characters feel pressure to live up to the situations that are thrust upon them. So all these characters are faced with challenges, and they have lots of pressure placed upon them to live up to a certain moral compass or to follow a certain moral code, but they don't all do that, or they don't do that right away. So that was my thought process with making connections about each of these three texts. And that's what's going to lead me to my next step. So be prepared to stop in just a second here. After generating a good brainstorm, of generating a list of a few things, a few ideas of what to talk about, we're gonna craft a topic sentence. So it says, now that you've selected the subject that you want to address, and essentially this is my subject up here. Just highlighted that for you. Again, that's not phrased really eloquently, but that was just my brainstorm. So I've got a good subject in mind. Now I have to develop a clear and arguable statement that illustrates the connections among these three texts. Now, the key word here is it has to be an argument. I have to prove something. So in order for my TEA paragraph to be successful, I have to make sure that I'm proving something. And I previously wrote this, so to help guide our writing and move this exercise along, this is my topic sentence. It says, when faced with difficult situations, individuals like Tris from the novel Divergent, Pentecost from A Kind of Murder, and Eli from The Lie must courageously follow their moral compasses and admit to their shortcomings in order to endure hardships and learn from their mistakes. Okay, let's break this topic sentence down. What makes this topic sentence successful is that I address my subject. This is my subject. All of the characters, here, let's make it yellow. All of the characters are faced with difficult situations. But why does that matter? Again, a topic sentence has to be an argument. It has to be provable. So when addressing difficult situations, I want to prove in my TEA paragraph that in spite of their shortcomings, they have to endure hardships to learn from their mistakes. So I'm going to prove that all three characters, they learn from the situations that they're placed upon. So that is what makes this an argument, and that's what I'm going to be proving throughout the entire paragraph. Another component, so there are three components to a good topic sentence. One, the first thing is obviously the topic or the subject. The second one is what I'm proving, and then the third one is previewing the three texts that I'm going to be talking about. So I've got three different components to this particular topic sentence. It's very detailed, it's very specific. Another thing I want you to note that the novel Divergent is italicized, and then the two short stories are put in quotes. Please make sure you punctuate that correctly. Not only have we been talking about that all semester, but it's right in front of you right here. So make sure that you italicize titles of books and put short stories in quotes. So that's my topic sentence. So let's take a pause for just a second here, and why don't you take a crack at writing your topic sentence. Alright, my next step here is to start generating my evidence. In addition to my evidence, each piece of evidence is going to have an analysis. Remember that your analysis takes your evidence, explains the so what or why does it matter, and your analysis connects your evidence explicitly back to your topic sentence. So, for this step, you're going to generate a list of three pieces of evidence that supports your topic sentence. Remember, evidence can be direct quotes or facts from the text. Now, for this TEA paragraph, you need to have a quote from each of the three texts. So, all of your evidence is going to be direct quotes. You might have to elaborate and use some facts as well. So, make sure that you are very thorough with the evidence and analysis that you provide. After each piece of evidence, you're going to write a short explanation as to how your evidence proves your topic sentence. So again, that is your analysis. Right, let's take a look. Now I started out with The Lie. In The Lie, Eli found his rejection letter and tore it up before his parents realized that he was not admitted to the prestigious White Hills School. So, looking at this piece of evidence, note how I have a direct quote right here. Now, in order to make my words and Kurt Vonnegut's words sound the same, I added the word rejection letter. This also, which I put in brackets, this also makes the writing more specific, more clear, which is more effective. Now, note that I put The Lie in quotes, so if you use the title of the text, which you probably will, you will need to put that in quotes. Note how I have a comma here at the end of the quotation, and then my citation goes all the way at the end. Kurt Vonnegut is the author of The Lie. Page numbers are right there on the page, and that was taken from page 11. So my first piece of evidence is dealing with the rejection letter that Eli tore up. Now, in order to analyze that, or in order to thoroughly explain why that's significant, I needed to write several sentences. So my analysis here is more than just one sentence. My analysis says, even though he was not admitted to the school, Eli realized that that had he discussed the situation with his mother and father before taking the trip to White Hill, he could have saved the embarrassment of being rejected publicly. He also learned that his parents would still accept him for who he was despite his rejection, which allowed him to grow as a person and move forward in the situation. So, in my analysis, I'm talking about what Eli specifically learned, which connects to my topic sentence, and then how he grew as a person. So, what he learned and how he grew, again, connecting back to my topic sentence. Next piece of evidence. Even though he did not follow his moral compass in the moment, Pentecost, from A Kind of Murder, was able to reflect upon his mistakes of not standing up for his teacher at the age of 15 because he didn't want to be called a do-gooder. Okay, so my quote from Pentecost is this do-gooder quote. I've got my quote right here. I've got my citation here at the end. I'm going to add a comma right here. And now that punctuation is correct. But how does that connect to my topic sentence? Looking at my analysis, I said, Pentecost went against his instinct to support his teacher, which was a source of great shame. From that moment on, he was able to mature and realize that he was not proud of what he had done. This realization would lead him to make better decisions as an adult. Okay, so this is what happened in this situation. His instinct or his moral code was to support his teacher, which he didn't do. But because he didn't do it, he was able to mature and realize that he was not proud of what he had done. So this is what he had learned. And then finally, as an adult, he would be a better person. So again, connecting back to what he learned and what happened as a result of his shortcoming. So that's my next piece of analysis. Final text. Another character, Tris, strives to make better decisions as well by being brave and selfless and smart and kind and honest. So I've got my correct punctuation here. I blended my quote so Roth's words sound like they could be my words. And I also used this little transition, another character, to connect back to my previous sentence. So I'm making a cohesive TEA paragraph. My analysis here says, in a world where being divergent and possessing these traits is dangerous, she realizes that in the end she must make difficult decisions, including killing one of her best friends, in order to survive a simulation carried out by the erudite faction. Okay, so I explained the difficult situation, which was killing her friend. Then let's figure out what she learned. She must sacrifice her loved ones in order to live through the simulation and save the city as a whole. So she learns about sacrifice through this experience, and this is what she does to move on from the situation. So again, I'm connecting back to my topic sentence. Now, once I finish that, I'm going to scroll back up to the concluding sentence here. What does it all mean? So how can I tie all of this together? Again, to be thorough and to make those connections, I did have to write 2 sentences instead of just 1. So my conclusion is, each of these characters were placed in difficult situations that they needed to face. While they may not have always made the best decision in the moment, each character was able to learn from their mistakes and endure hardships. So I'm going to change that right there. And grow as individuals in spite of their choices made in the moment. So, as a result, they endured these hardships and they grew in spite of the choices they made. So, did all of these characters make the right choice when they were teenagers? No. Actually, they really all didn't make all the right choices. But despite of that situation, they were able to reflect and grow, which is the so what of this entire paragraph. All right, folks, I hope that helps. Please prepare thoroughly, write thoroughly, revise, because we can always make all of our writing better. And good luck in preparing for your TEA Prompt 1.